What is up, people? Welcome back to Youth Pod. We finally have a name. Just so you guys know, we didn't have a name for the first year for our podcast. So we just made up names every week. Yeah. But it's official youth.pod. So welcome, guys. Today we have very, very special guests that we're very happy to have, guys. We're so excited to have y'all, some friends, personal friends, and we're really happy to have you guys here. Abbie Gamboa, Gabe Gamboa, Sebastian Suarez. I have it saved on my phone, man. Julian Gamboa and Oscar Gamboa. Happy to have you guys here. Ron, do you want to say anything?
No, yeah, it's amazing to have them here. They're basically like family for us. And if you want to give like a 10-second, 15-second bio about y'all. I mean, I'm sure most of you know Abbie. She's worshiper and all that. And then the rest of you guys, if you guys want to give a short little bio.
Julian, you got it?
I got it?
Yeah.
Go for it. No, you got it.
Okay, Colombia represent.
Sebastian. Guys, thank you for having us.
Yeah,
first of all.
Que viva Colombia. Que viva Colombia, Dios mío.
There's your bio.
they just won last night. So if you guys are watching this,
hey, we won.
And he's not just randomly wearing a Colombian jersey. They're all Colombian.
We're all Colombian.
Yeah.
Except for Abbie.
Yeah.
But
well, by association now. Yeah.
Exactly. By association.
English by marriage.
No, wait, what are you?
Not yet, though.
English
like
by marriage?
Irish.
I'm Irish German by
marriage.
marriage.
Let's go.
But obviously that's Abbie, and this is her husband, and he is my cousin, and these are my other two cousins. So it kind of literally is a family band. So that's kind of like a very, very short explanation of who we are. Obviously we play music, we do worship, and we've been here before, so I feel like your audience might know who we kind of are, but
definitely
pretty sure they know who you guys are.
So well, yeah, and just a quick shout out. They have a production like team company. It's called JOGS. They have a podcast. They have a bunch of stuff. So please check out their stuff on YouTube.
What's the name of the podcast so everyone can hear it?
JOGS podcast.
Yeah. So
it's so hard coming up with a name for a podcast.
Yeah, I'm telling you,
it is.
It's like everything you say is like, no, that's cheesy. That's
or it's
like,
taken.
Or it's taken.
Yeah, it's true.
There it is.
It's hard.
Yeah, definitely.
Podcast.
Or maybe we just overthink it way too much.
That too, yeah.
That too.
But JOGS podcast.
Well, yeah, we just wanted to have them on. Obviously, we have a couple topics lined up, and guys, thank you so much for making it out here, being out here, and yeah, I mean, let's get to it.
You guys want to just start like real deep, real quick?
Let's do it.
And then we'll flow from there. Okay, so the question kind of asked you guys earlier, if you guys want to kind of like talk about it, is for those of y'all watching, I'm sure a lot of you guys are maybe in this position. Me and Ron have grown up in this position. They've lived their whole lives in this position. That where do you differentiate where your work, because as worship leaders, you guys work as that, but also your service to God is worship. So it's like, where does your work and your service begin? How do you define that line? Like, how do you know when you're no longer worshiping, when you clocking out from work and clocking into service? Like, how do you define that?
I think the first thing is like you don't clock out from being a Christian. So it's the first thing you want to talk about. Because I think in ministry, it's like we have the responsibility of like, you know, we're leading something. And it's beyond ourselves, it's beyond our music. It's more of a clocking out of like my actual duties, but not my values. Does that make sense?
That's good.
Yeah.
And then just the clocking out for me, it's just like, I hang with my family, spend time with them. You know, I think someone asked me years ago, because it's like I love ministry and I love music. And for a very, very long time, I had no other hobbies. So it's like, that's all I did. And then someone's like, "Hey,
do you have any hobbies now?"
It's changed a lot. That's the thing,
Bro.
Like,
Nothing's changed.
no, like I love watching basketball. It's a
come
really
on.
great hobby. It's like a 2-year hobby that I've had.
Wait, what team do you support?
I'm of course the Mavericks.
Are you sad that they lost?
No, I'm not sad. I'm happy we got Clay though.
It's gonna be a good
Yeah.
team. They're gonna
It's
have
a
a good
great
run this
team.
year.
But like finding little things to do like outside of that like outside of ministry and music has helped me just truly clock out.
Yeah.
That's the right question you're asking.
Definitely.
Like finding.
So would you say that's necessary?
Yes.
At least one of the
100% to
points
feel
would be
normal,
having
to
a
feel
hobby.
grounded,
A hobby.
to be
A hobby.
Okay.
Awesome.
I think for me, like, especially specifically in music, like, there's two ways I will clock out. It's like I serve my church, you know, worship leaders give me songs that I have to like learn and stuff. But then on my free time, I make music that I like, you know, stuff like that. So it's like I love to serve, and that's my job, and that's what I do. But also I get inspired and I create my own space, my own like personal space with God in my creativity. So it's like doing that too. It's like, so going back to Oscar, I never really clock out with music. I just stay inspired. I stay in that like space, and I serve my church, and I do stuff also on the side.
So basically, you would basically say it has to be connected with what you're passionate about.
Yeah, 100%.
However you serve and work in the church.
So I feel like a lot of people like they're burnt, like the burnt out thing. Like I'm like, that's, you know, maybe try to get re-inspired. Like maybe try to find a different angle of like that. So it's like that, because that's what I love to do in music. Because I mean, there's people that get burnt out of like hearing the same music or, you know, same genre or whatever. But I'm like, then step out. Like let's you know, if you're a pastor, let's evangelize. If you don't like evangelizing, then do something else that would inspire you to like keep that ministry going. Because ministry is not only singular focus; it's like global. So
yeah, and if there's anything, I mean, I would just like to say, if there's anybody that knows doing the same thing over and over again, it's them. Just because they travel like crazy. You guys are in the prayer room. I mean, obviously, before you were there even more years ago, and they would just be every single day worship, playing worship, praying, worshiping, praying in services and all that. And obviously, what you guys have is there's weight to it, you know. There's weight to what you're saying. There's weight because you guys like, you know, it's easy for me to say, oh, I go to church, you know, you know, make the balance and all that, but I'm going to church once a week. And then you have us that are like full time, all out, you know, all day every day, you know. So it's great to hear that. You know,
and like speaking into that, I guess follow along. So like, for example, I know you guys used to do like, or you probably still do 6 a.m. prayer sets, right? Like, how would you like manage that every time you had to wake up at 6 a.m. to go do a prayer set?
That was hard.
Like, how can I wake up and do this?
And
do this with my heart and like not just do this because I have to, because I get to.
I think going back to like the original question is like, how do you separate your duties versus like you serving? And I think for me, they kind of like are the same. Like in my duties, I find myself serving. And I think for me, it's hard to separate both. Like there's not a clocking out of like, oh, I'm done with my duties. Now I get to serve. In my duties, I'm serving whatever it is.
It's almost like trying to pick and choose what your heart is in. And
and I think especially with ministry, like obviously we all love God. We all love worship. We all love just each other and worshiping together. So it's very easy for my heart to come alive when I'm with my family and I'm serving whatever's being presented in the moment worship wise. But it's the same thing when it's like currently right now we're moving buildings, and I know at some point they're gonna be like, guys, we need to move all of the instruments over. And that's the same thing to me. It's like having the servant heart in my job, I think helps me like view it kind of the same. Because I don't, like Oscar said, there's like the logistical side of like I'm gonna clock out and be with my family, but serving, it's healthier if you just in everything that you do you have a servant heart.
100%.
Totally. I think also one thing for me, kind of to tag off of what Gabe said, but really what we've all been saying, is with the inspiration thing, finding, like for me recently, I've been so tired. Like we've been going hard. We're gone a lot. We're like 2 to 3 trips a month. Sometimes like we're gone more than we're home right now in this season. And we said yes. Like it's not like anybody forced us to. We felt grace. We said yes, and we're following through with commitments. And God always ends up showing up in these places that we go to. So it's like you can't, like you don't get tired of that, but your body gets tired of the constant go. And I was reading on a plane, and I wasn't even asking God. We were flying to Canada literally earlier this week, and I wasn't even asking God for anything specific, but I was reading in Matthew, and I read about like your light shining and how you don't light a candle and put it under, you don't cover a candle and you put it up on a mountain for everyone to see. And I've read that so many times in my life, but it hit me in a different way, and it gave me a fresh purpose for why I was doing what I was doing. Because I literally was like journaling, and I was like, I want to be home. I want to be home with my baby. I want to be home unpacking. We just moved. I want to be home making my home how I want it to be. Like I want to be resting. I'm tired. But this gave me like a fresh fire for why I'm doing it, which is so funny because I was like, I actually don't want my light to be shut. Like, that's really cool that there's a light in me, but I actually want to be home. I want my light to be hidden, actually. Really bad right now. I would love to be hidden.
That's real.
But it's that revamping all the time of like, it's the inspiration thing, but it's also like the fire under your butt. Like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
So I feel like it's helpful to like re-ante that every once in a while.
And I would love to ask, how often do you do that? Just because recently, I mean, I don't know how it's going in Upper Room or in Dallas or anywhere you guys have been traveling to, but at least for us, like, man, like we see people so quickly, they just kind of just like fade away, and they're just like, and then not even like leave the church, they just leave God, they leave and they just walk out. Like it's almost like it's so easy. Like it's like the door's open and you just like, oh, it's way easier to just get out of this because this is too hard or this is too much sacrifice or whatever. Like what obviously we went into kind of, you know, simple practical things, but I guess more than anything, the why and how often. And it's almost like, you know, what does that look like for you guys? Just because like it's, you know, like for us, obviously, you know, we're put now in a position where people see us. And that's just the truth. People see us and now they hear us and they listen to us. So it's almost like you're just like trying to help people and then they're just walking out and you're just like, it's even more discouraging because you're just like, oh, so like how are you guys handling that? And I guess I know this is like a loaded question, but you know, just, I
mean, very practically to answer it directly and then we can talk more about it. I literally did this like a couple months ago, and it wasn't like a specific scripture that's like an anchor right now. It was just a moment with God where I was like, okay, I think I know why I'm doing this again. It was literally like 3 months ago and now I'm doing it again so frequently.
Yeah. Definitely.
I'd say another one is having people in your life. That's like my answer for most things, is having like solid people, like us doing it as a family. I know not everybody gets that, but it is so grounding for me. And they don't get to come on like every single thing that I say yes to, but I try to make it so that they can, because it is important for my like mental, emotional, spiritual space to have people that are, even like Silas, like he's on my management team and he's with us, and it's like part of that, like those my people that are like in my corner, because when you do it by yourself you get weird real quick.
Yeah.
Like,
can you say that like one more time? Because
when you do it by yourself, when you do this by yourself you get really weird.
Yeah.
And I can like feel myself nearing that sometimes. I'm like, I need to talk to my people.
Yeah. And like you can just feel it sometimes. Like you've been alone for too long and you're just like, all right, I just need to like, I need to go have my brother, my cousin go make fun of me a little bit.
Yeah.
To just like, you know.
Even just having like moms and dads. I have my spiritual mom lives in Dallas, and she's, when we're not seeing each other, we haven't seen each other in like a month because we've been gone so much. But I'm like 7-minute voice memos like, Melissa, this is what's happening. Like pray. And she like just keeping tabs on each other.
Yeah.
You know?
The importance of iron sharpens iron. Like, really, man. Like your circle.
It's almost like a sense of like accountability almost. You know? Just crazy.
You need people in your life to tell you no and to be honest with you and to 100%. Like remind you of like, hey, either you're getting a little too arrogant or hey, why aren't you speaking up anymore? Or like you need people to like to sharpen you in every area. So
and people that know you.
Yeah, and that requires vulnerability. Like I'm sure it's vulnerable to send Melissa a 7-minute voice memo. And it's also vulnerable for us to be in a room together trying to make music, and then Gabe makes me mad. And I'm sitting there like,
how can you be mad at Gabe?
Yeah, how can you be
very
easily?
How?
He just gives me one look and he's like, no, I'm just like pissed. But it's vulnerable to like, it's definitely. When you do it on your own, first of all, it's kind of boring. It really to just your opinions, your ideas, and all that you say goes, and that's the only thing that matters. You just become like, you're not creating on your own terms. It's actually only on your own terms, and you need other people in your life to like create beautiful collaboration.
Just to, I guess, end on that note, definitely. I would even encourage anybody watching too, like, because obviously you guys have an insane privilege of having family.
Yeah.
And obviously I'm on my side doing that, and obviously I have my dad and you know and all that. But just to encourage people to like find the right community.
Yeah, 100%.
By asking the Lord. If you don't have a relationship with God, start praying, and then ask Him. hey, what does my circle look like? What do I need to continue forward? And just seek out those people. You know?
I think it's so important to seek out. Like, I'm pretty sure, like, Melissa didn't seek out Abbie. I'm pretty sure Abbie,
especially for moms and dads, it's your responsibility to seek out the parents.
I would love for you to just speak into that, because our generation, as well as Gen Z, as well as Gen A, they don't understand the importance of a spiritual father or a spiritual mother in their lives. Because obviously we have our moms and dads that they're going to help us in what they can. Yeah. But obviously for our spiritual design, how we were created, God obviously is going to have someone to guide you. Yeah. You know, he's not going to just give you something without guidance for it and someone to guide you here on earth. So can you just speak into that a little bit?
I mean, it's like the most important thing. I think it's like the most important thing, even more than this. Wow. Like we need brothers and sisters, but we need parents.
So good.
We need people that have been doing it longer than us. Yeah. Like we've been doing this together for a long time, which has so much value, but we need people who've been going longer than us that like see things differently. And the cool thing is that when you have people that are like the right people, like Melissa, for example, she's the last person to like hang it over my head that she knows more than me. She's actually like, I'm just figuring this out just as much as you. I'm just like, I don't even know how old Melissa is, like 40 years past you. Like I'm like 40, 50 years doing this longer than you, but I'm still figuring it out too. I mean, I don't know if y'all want to add to that, but I am like deeply passionate about
I think when it comes to like spiritual fathers and spiritual mothers, I think there is a generation's like, well, God's my father. I've heard that excuse, or you know, but
it's because it is an excuse.
Yeah, and it is. There is truth to that.
Of course,
you know, God is our Father. He does speak to us, but it's all us to test everything. You know, test prophecy. If He speaks to you and you have no one testing it, that can be dangerous.
100%.
If you don't have people, you know, if you surround yourself around just yes, and there's no other people that you intentionally brought in, that's keyword. You don't want other people to tell you, because you want to make sure you bring someone you trust that like loves you, can correct you. But even biblically too, you know, in 1 Corinthians 4, it says, Paul, it says, I am writing this not to shame you, but to warn you as dear children. Even you had tens of thousands of guardians in Christ. You do not have many fathers. For in Christ Jesus, I've become your father through the gospel. Therefore, I urge you to imitate me. And he keeps going. But I'm just saying, I'm like, Paul was a father. He's like, he said, there's a lot of guardians out there. And I think that's what's happening a lot in the body of Christ. There's tons of voices, tons of guardians, but like true fathers walk with their children. Yeah, it's true. You know, it's like, and I think you need to find someone that's willing to walk with you when you're in the mountaintop or when you're in the valley. When everything's going great, they can celebrate you. But when everything's going great and you get a little prideful, they can correct you.
100%.
When you're in the pit, they can extend a hand to you and comfort you. They know how to like help. Yeah. And it's like, and I think God can use that. And it's like we need fathers and mothers.
Yeah. Definitely.
Just to add a little there, you said guardians, but it's guides. Like, and I was gonna just add to it. So what Paul is saying is like, there's a lot of people guiding you, but not people fathering you. Mm-hmm. And you see that in this generation, and like TikTok, Instagram, it's a lot of people just saying things. Yeah. There's constant guidance. Hey man, this and this and this. Hey, do this or do that. This is the way to do this. But there's not many fathers. I mean, you saw that in the first church, and you still see it today. So it's like the importance of seeking fathers and mothers in your life is, I think it's why we're here. Like we can look back and I can say, man, there are so many spiritual fathers and mothers.
Because they see all the, you know, what God is doing through y'all, but they don't have any idea like the power that has.
Yeah, and really when you're doing ministry, you're kind of blinded to like, because you're in it, you're in the fight, you're in the good and the bad and the ugly.
Even just as a believer, almost.
Exactly, even just a believer, just like you are in it. But there's people outside, like you said, trusted people that can see and have that third perspective, where they can say, "Hey, man, that's actually not a big deal." Like, you know, how many times people have told me, "Hey, Julian, that's not a big deal." I'm like, "Oh, you're right," or "Hey, you need to watch out for this. This is a big deal." I'm like, "I had no clue." That's a big thing. That's like, you know, and in ministry life, just following Jesus is not a race, it's a marathon. It's a long marathon. So it's like knowing and pacing yourself with people is important.
I think too, because I think in this conversation people can sometimes get overwhelmed with like, I don't even know, like cool for you that you've had a spiritual mom for the last 9 years, like super cool. How do I even, but I would say even for Gabe and I, like we've brought new people in over the years. So I think it's like an ongoing, like I think about Adam, like a newer like father figure in our life that we're like slowly, he's learning us and we're learning him and we're entrusting more with to him, and he's speaking more. Like it's this ongoing journey of like finding the right people. I just want to say that because we're not just like, we have been like, doing the same.
And I would just like to add something to that. Like, y'all didn't like just like, you know, it wasn't just like it just happened. Like God orchestrated it correctly.
Yes.
And I believe, and at least in this season, I'm understanding the verse that says you have not because you ask not. Yeah. So if you're not looking for it, it's never gonna come.
Yeah.
So at least for me, it's like understanding that, and it's what you're saying, like you needed that. So but you were actually like you said, seeking it out. Yeah. So once you seek it out, so like maybe a lot of people are like, yeah, it's easy for you to say, but I don't have that. But are you asking God? Like,
yeah, there's also the saying, you find what you're looking for.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you're like, you're on the hunt, you're probably gonna see the people that are actually have been in front of you the whole time. And
even in a practical sense, I mean, all of you guys are married. Yeah, y'all were looking for somebody. You know, like you know,
she didn't pursue me. I pursued her.
Come on,
that'd be weird. That'd be weird.
Yeah. You got that dog in him.
No, but it's true. It's true. Like I think going back to Abbie, like Adam, is slowly like it's something I've always looked for, but I never like fought for, and like and I'm finally doing that, and I'm finally like reaching out when I feel uncomfortable. I'm like, man, I feel weird right now, and you start texting him. It's just like me finally finding someone that's like on my team as a spiritual father. It's like,
it's crazy.
It's like I'm just now entering that space where Abbie has been doing it for 9 years, you know? So it's like, so just to relate with people out there, it's like, it takes an effort and it takes time, and God's going to orchestrate it, and it's going to be the perfect time at the perfect moment. And it's like, so don't be weary and pursue. So
what are like some things that you would say for somebody that maybe doesn't have, what's like step 1, step 2, like how do you go about finding someone that you
That's a good question. I was just thinking about that, because like sometimes I'm thinking practically, like y'all are leading the youth, and maybe I'm a 12-year-old, 13-year-old, I'm like, I want Ronald to be my spiritual father, but
I'm down.
Like, you know, you could
you got me or what?
Where do I apply?
Like, let's just put that
application system.
Do you have an application?
You got a course?
Like sometimes we have this like desire of somebody so lofty, important. Really lofty, and like honestly, you probably are guiding them in a sense. But a lot of times the Lord will have people that are near you. Like it's the nearness. Like I've realized that in my life. I'm like, I've done that many times. I want the head pastor to like be my father and lead me. And I'm trying and I'm doing, but I haven't realized that the fathers are near you. Yeah, and there's actually it's like provision. Like sometimes we forget that God provides every season, every time.
So good.
You know? And so the same thing with spiritual fathers and mothers. They're gonna be around you, and here's a key thing too: a spiritual father's not gonna be like, I'm gonna father you. Not really. It's like these people are just around, and they're always for you. They're always around. They're just gonna be there, and it's up to you to like recognize that and realize, hey, this person's being a father to me.
That's good.
You know, and I need to come under that, and it's a really coming under people like. But it's slow, like you said with Adam. I actually felt the same thing with this is our friend.
He's kind of been that with
us. This amazing man. He's older than us. He's been in the music industry, and he's just like the kindest person you know. And slowly but surely, I'm like, oh my gosh, with coffees, with like sit downs, with time, I'm trusting him with who I am. Yeah. And he's receiving me for who I am too, as I am, and that's a big deal. Those are two like things that I would say, like as spiritual fathers, they're gonna be around in every season.
It's like with Adam. I remember I was I kind of shared what I was doing with some projects, and I mean I didn't ask him. He wrote in his journal. He prayed for me, and then I went and connected with him for like 2 more months, and then he's like, "Hey, I want to connect with you. Can you do a FaceTime?" I'm like, "Sure." We connected. He's like, "Hey man, I've been praying for your projects," and I was like, first of all, that's beautiful that he took the time to like pray for me. Yeah.
Wow.
And he's like, hey, I really do. He's like, take it for a grain of salt. This part feels really good. This one, I don't know how I feel about it.
Wow.
And I was like, okay. I just took it. You know, again, I'm a person that like tests things a little bit. Fast forward a month later, it actually, like, it was so hard to like make it work, but they really wanted to make it work, and it didn't work out. You know what I mean? But I was like, I remember that moment, and I trust him, and I trust him, his connection with the Lord. The Lord just, you know, and I was like, wow, I had the peace to say no in this process because of like someone above me praying for me and thinking about me, caring about my well-being. You know, and I think that's what spiritual father does.
Yeah.
He never imposed it, but it's like he kind of let me know what he was feeling.
And it's a beautiful thing because obviously what God has done in y'all's lives, in your ministry, in Upper Room, and then us on our side, and then there's two very similar, I guess, catalysts in that, which is this, you know. So it's crazy to think about, you know. So
no, I love what Julian said too. I just add something else about how like a lot of times people want like the head pastor to be my spiritual father, and it's like I love that you're saying that it's not just always like the person you see up there. It's like the person that's accessible, that you know is gonna have the time that the Lord's placing in your life. Sometimes we're blind to that, and we're just so focused on, I don't know, up there when God's like it's right in front of you. You're missing out on such a great opportunity.
Yeah, there's like I think there's so many more than we realize.
Yeah.
Like moms and dads that are so like like we've experienced this at Upper Room, where like bigger names and faces that are like running the ship in a sense, and young people coming in and being like, I want to be close to that person, I want to be mentored by that person. I mean, we've all done it too. And just realizing that like there are so many, it's not about like there's options, but it's like there's more accessibility than just the people that you see. I think that is so important. Julian.
Wow.
Julian, thank you.
Good job.
You changed
Good
all of our
job,
lives
man.
today.
You're welcome, everybody. God spoke to me.
Good job, bro. You
It's
should
true,
write
because
a
people
book.
always want like the biggest and the best,
Yeah.
and God's not always like
Yeah,
that's not
true.
where I'm steering you to. But your eyes are just so stuck
that might
on
not be good for you at the point.
True.
Like, you know, it's just seasonal. Like who God is speaking to in your personal like life might be an uncle, like, or it might be just like a small group leader, you know, or a youth like leader, you know. And sometimes we are blinded by the stars and this guy's so cool.
Yeah.
He's
He has
awesome.
aura.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His aura.
The
Energy,
aura.
the
Yeah.
big
The aura is there.
And I love that, like, I guess common theme for the first question and the second question, it kind of all just goes back to relationship with God. Because, like, for example, where does your service start from your work? It's like you won't be able to define that if you don't have a relationship with God. Well, who should be, I guess, your spiritual mother, father, or guide in this season? Starts with a relationship with God, because if you don't have that, you will never be able to realize any of that other things. Well, thank you so much again. Like,
Of course.
We love you
We love
We
you
love
guys.
you guys.
and thank y'all for tuning in on the Youth Pod.
Thank you guys.
We love y'all, and we'll see you next time.
Peace.